5% is the industry average today. That's not acceptable.
It's just not sustainable.
No, it's not.
Yeah, on a 5% net, how can you invest in the future?
The thing I keep saying though is, and the reason I harp on this so much is because I didn't always know my numbers. And I think that's the thing that I really want to come out of this podcast is I don't ever want anybody listening to think like, listen, these guys up on their soapboxes, they know everything. And it's like, actually, we didn't always know everything. But you got to make a decision at one point in your business, right? And sometimes it takes listening to a podcast.
Awesome. All right. Well, again, I've got a recording. We're going to go off script. I'm going to do my best in this one to pull together a lot of the chat about profitability. This came from a post on Facebook, and I don't know actually who added it, but we'll play it in the podcast just because I think it's a cool conversation maker. But it was a post about a customer down in the States who went to get an estimate and was told there's two different rates. I'm actually going back to the notes that I think Norm had said about, depending on who the audience is, the shops would just kind of roll their eyes at this post. Was that you, Norm, who shared that comment? Yeah. And or if it's the client, is that going to grab some people? I sense we're not just having listeners online that are only shops. I think we have a group of people now growing that I think can maybe connect to what this guy is saying, but we'll address that, but it's going to pull us right back into the conversation about rates and profitability and whatever. So that's why I asked Mark to be on this too, because I think he'll bring some great insights, some great questions. And then the outcome I have for this podcast is ultimately, can we now get it to offering things, not just numbers to know, but things shops can do heading into the new year, to make that choice to the title, right? And the title again was know your numbers or stay mad about it, right? So, anyways, if you guys have any questions, otherwise we'll fire it up.
Fire it up.
I was watching Todd's grin the whole time. He's ready to go.
Right on. Okay, welcome everybody. Just want to say welcome everyone to the podcast, Season 2, Episode 2 of Beyond Repair, Crashing the Conversation. This was started over a year ago now, and it was strictly designed to get shop owners talking. Since then, we've seen people outside the industry doing some talking, asking questions, and so we're excited again to have our usual Musketeers here. We've got Norm out at St. Claude, Manitoba, and Jojo in Bonnyville and Cold Lake from JD Collision, as well as Todd out in Kelowna at Prestige Collision. And I also want to introduce a special guest, Mark Livingston. He joins us actually on our team at Kaizen Hub recently to do some work both in sales as well as profitability coaching. So perfect podcast to throw him into, and I'm excited to get you guys to work together to help make this podcast happen. The title, which is Know Your Numbers or Just Stay Mad About It. It's not a new topic to this podcast. It's come up in almost every single podcast. But what I want is to be able to bring it kind of around into the end of 2025 here and say, okay, we've talked about a lot of great things in this year in our podcasts. Let's really do our best, guys, to address some of the things that we're going to throw in here, have a good convo, and then I would like to know that we can leave our listeners with something, one, to ask quite more questions about, but also what can we do? I mean, I love how we can get some people talking and share their frustrations, but I think everyone on this podcast would agree we're all forward thinkers. We want to find what's the next opportunity, even when there's problems. So, first things first, this podcast actually came from somebody down in the States by the name of Tony Cullum, and he had posted on Facebook a rant. And the backstory is, I understand he went in to get an estimate, and he was told, after being asked, is it going through insurance or is it customer pay, that there's two different rates. So I'll let the video speak for itself, and we'll start there. So let me share my screen. And again, all credit goes to the guy who posted it, Tony Cullum. Again, I don't know where he's at, but it looks like he's not a big fan of, I guess, Caliber Collision anymore. So here we go. All right, so give me a thumbs up if we got sound. Just a thumbs up if we've got sound on this, guys. On the letter play.
When did body shop stop writing estimates? So I just went to Caliber Collision in Carrollton, Georgia, get my truck fixed. I backed into something. Is it going to be insurance or out of pocket? Well, maybe insurance. I don't know yet. Well, if it's going to be insurance, you have to have them send over the documents, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, then write me one for out of pocket. What's the difference? It's the same work. She goes, it's more expensive out of pocket. That don't make any sense to me. You tell me flat out that it's more expensive for me to pay for it out of my pocket than it is for the insurance company. That's why your insurance rates are so high. They don't want you as a customer. They want your insurance company as a customer. Caliber Collision, Carrollton, Georgia, you can suck it.
So good. Such a good rant, man. I love it.
I look forward to seeing what rants might come from the rant. Went through some of the comments, and it's definitely a flurry of interpretation, I would say. So, again, I shared that post because one of our group here, and I can't recall who, said, check out this. What do you guys think? And it raised a good conversation around, one, how does this all work, right? How do rates work? And did this guy indeed maybe not even did he understand it? Was it truly explained right? But the impression he got was, hold on, there's something fishy going on here. And then, hopefully we can dig into helping not just our audience, but our listeners, even in the shops, open up some conversation about what's really going on with rates. So what are you guys' first impressions on this poor gentleman's interpretation?
I'd like to jump in right away on this one. It just goes to show you that your perspective and how you come about something is totally changes how you view how something works. Because his viewpoint from what he knows and what he sees is exactly correct. It's ridiculous that I just want an estimate. What does it cost to repair it? But no, there's this whole system behind that means that we just can't even do a simple task without confusing everything and causing delays and cost right at the beginning. I know when I watch the video, I just see, well, no, none of that's really true. But that's completely different perspective.
No, part of that's true, Jojo. It's more money if you pay out of pocket, or it should be.
Yes, that's the true point, but it's for
everything else wasn't true.
Obviously, different reasons than he is implying, because I would much rather every person to be the customer and the insurance just pays the customer. Right. That's what it should be, and that's what I would love to do, because then it would be simple. He could come in, I could write an estimate, we could agree that this is the proper safe repair for this vehicle, and we could get going. There would be no delays, no waiting on ordering the right parts, and it'd be a magical world, actually. It'd be beautiful.
Keep going.
You're 100% right. That would be That would be just magical, right? Complete with unicorns, and then there's probably be some rainbows in the background too, right? For good measure.
There might
But
even be profitability in there too. Like,
Oh,
well, let's not get too crazy. But anyway,
Sounded like you're starting a fairy book novel there entry. So,
Once upon a time.
in all fairness, so back to that question, and Todd, you had said something like, if it is, it's going to be more money, and if it's customer pay, it should be.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, the industry as a whole we're working on suppressed rates due to collective agreements, DRPs, provincial insurers. There's no sort of free market in collision, and it isn't technically devalued, but the narrative in the industry from the insurance companies is, look, like we can pay less, and it's just because they maintain control over that.
yeah,
So
very well
as a
said.
shop, if you're not charging a fair market rate, maybe based on some sort of calculation, and you're just going on off of insurance rates, I mean, you're part of the problem.
Say that one more time, if you could.
Can you just get it, repeat it?
Yeah.
It's, I don't know, can I say that a different way? It's truthfully, if you are not charging some sort of well-calculated fair market rate, you're part of the problem. You are the problem.
Okay.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head.
Well, and
I'll let you center in on that, guys. I have some questions.
I think in British Columbia, Todd, you've seen a number of players in the collision market have surcharge rates for customer pay.
Yes, I have. We're not going to name names, but I'm proud of them for doing that.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like you said, working backwards from what you need as a net profit to
Yeah.
determine what your customer door rate or non-DRP, non-preferred customer is. Some of the perspective that some of the adopters of that different rate charge have adopted is that you are not a preferred customer, therefore you are required to pay this elevated rate.
And they
Yeah.
are, the problem is they are a preferred customer, but they're just not high enough volume,
No volume.
right? And when you've got, probably any of us could say our insurance driven work is 95% of the bill. And depending on what kind of agreement you're running under, that's you don't actually have much choice due to Competition Act and the lack of legally collective agreements and things like that in our industry. We're really working on, like, it's almost like legislated low rates.
Yeah. Another way to say this is not that we're surcharging the customer who's paying out of pocket.
No.
We're discounting the insurance company. We're discounting
Yeah.
it to the insurance company, and we're not doing that by choice.
And that
And
is
so
not
I
a
think
choice. Yes.
That's what I think Joe Public needs to understand. Back to Joel's point earlier, if we know our numbers and we know what we should be charging to complete a safe, effective repair, that's going to be this. And the insurance company, on the other hand, says, we give you 95% of your work. So we're not paying this, we're paying this. And your choice is you take this or you don't. And you lose 95% of your work. Right. And I think that's what this gentleman, it is, I get it from the public. You can look at this many different ways, but I think that's how my brain works. That's the way to explain it, is that we don't have a choice in the matter. And if we want to do work for MPI, and in my case, sorry, MPI, but for the insurance company, we have to agree to their rates, and it's do it or don't. So I think that the public needs to understand that the rate that we've set, when we can control what we charge, is what it takes to run a business that is not only able to complete good, safe repairs, but also reinvest in itself, right? And continue to train, continue to buy equipment, continue to give the facility the upkeep that it needs to be a welcoming place, right? And look after our customers. So, to Todd's point earlier, um, you, if you're not doing that as a shop and you don't know what that number is, and you're just saying, I'm just going to charge what the insurance company charges, but then on the flip side, are the first to sit at the table and complain that they don't pay us enough. Like, come on, we gotta figure this out.
Yeah. So Norm, I'll echo what you said. What I interpreted you saying is that ultimately, if you have a customer who would like to bring you, 10 cars a week, let's say, you possibly entertain giving them a discount as well.
Not 10 cars a week.
Okay. 100 cars a week?
No, again, I would have to look at my numbers and let you know, right? Am I going to put all my eggs in that basket? Someone
Yeah.
walks off the street.
Well, that would take it from, before what Todd shared about the fact that there's also rates being dictated that are not actually where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I love about where this podcast can go is, indeed, as you said, we need to balance as shops what we're charging in different markets to different customers in order to be overall profitable. But what do you say to somebody in an agreed DRP, whether they made the choice or they are part of a network banner that made the choice, which means they're still making the choice, or better example of you guys in the public insurance, ICBC, MPI, SGI, I think. I don't know much about Eastern, but there's some out there. Can you actually make money if that's all you did was those insurance work rates? Are you actually profitable at the rates, indeed, as you say they're set, and you off balance or hopefully off balance it with some customer pay work? And we'll get into what would entice a customer to pay. Trust me, there's a great topic there. But what would you say to those, including yourselves, who are in this position where the rates are already set? Can you make money, and what do you do if you can't? Not you, Joe. I know you.
Well, Jojo was kind of looking like he was going to say something, so I was biting my tongue.
It's a tough one.
It's a tough one.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say there's two columns, things you can control and things you can't control. And I think that this is what it all boils down to. And when you have an agreement with an insurance company, then rate falls in one column. And if you're doing work for someone that you control the rate, then it falls in the other column. So I think profitability will come down to the structure that you, that you create around the things you can control. And there's things that are non-negotiables, right? Safety, right? You're not going to cut a corner and compromise safety. There's working conditions. There's a number of things that they're going to cost a certain amount of money. And at the end of the day, you need to know what those fixed costs are, and you need to be able to run the math backward to understand: can I continue to do work at this rate? Will I be around in a year from now? Because to the shops that are doing work at a discounted rate, whether it's you're doing someone a favor or this is, you just want to, I don't know, you're helping someone. You're not helping anyone if you're out of business in a year from now.
Yeah.
Including yourself, your employee, and that customer. So you got to have a long-term vision on where this is going to end up and whether or not it's sustainable. And knowing your numbers is that's the key in being able to do the math backwards.
Yeah, exactly. Randy had said earlier about, being profitable, and, really as an operator, what is acceptable to you as a net profit for the amount of investment, the time that you expend, the risk that you take? I mean, there's a lot at play putting the key in the door every morning and putting the key in the lock every evening. There's a lot that happens in those 8.5 or 9 hours. And are you happy with what your retained earnings are based on that day-to-day operation? That's really the driver.
Mm-hmm.
And if I need to have other sources of revenue, customer pay, fleet work, whatever it is, that overall affects my effective labor rate positively, then maybe I get closer to that acceptable net profitability, because 5% is the industry average today. That's not acceptable.
It's just not
No,
sustainable.
No,
no.
it's not.
Yeah, on a 5% net, how can you invest in the future? Whether it's the future of your workforce or the equipment, or you can't do anything with that.
And you know, like when we talk about these discounts, in essence, these are volume type discounts that a direct repair agreement, or in your guys' case, a pretty much single source insurance provider. But it's interesting, you know, like we do have some of those agreements, and some of the insurance companies, we do not have those agreements. However, the understood expectation is that these are our rates. I know we don't have an agreement, but I get the volume discount too. Like that's the end result of dealing with an insurance company that you don't deal with very often in our multi-insurance company avenue. So like it's not a volume discount, it's just a flat out discount.
But Joel,
Yeah.
straight up, how many shops out there get told from, ABC insurance company, well, sorry, that's what we pay, take it or leave it. How many shops out there are going to go, no problem, we'll send them somewhere else?
Mhm. Not many are doing it.
Not many.
So there you go. That you get what you tolerate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But,
yeah,
you know,
that's a good way to say it. I was in a similar situation about 8 months ago. I wrote an estimate, and we don't get many here in Manitoba. Most of them are from our provincial insurer, but someone was traveling through, and I had to write an estimate for another insurance company from another province, and I put our private rates on it, right, which are more than our insurance company's rates, and more than this other insurance company's rates. But that other insurance company's rates are higher than my provincial insurer. So, like, sorry, a lot of moving parts here.
Yes.
So you got my insurer, them, and then me, and then so I send the estimate in, and they get back to me and they say, "Yeah, sorry, we only pay MPI rate." And I said,
Right. I've heard this.
"But you're
Wait,
not
what?
MPI." Yeah, but you're in Manitoba. Wow, you passed, your high school geography. That's fantastic. But this is what it costs. And it went through a lot of hands. I just kept saying no. I said, this vehicle's sitting here. You authorized me to do a complete disassembly and write you a complete estimate, which I did. And here is the estimate. And now you're saying you won't pay the rates. I will gladly wrap this thing up. I will leave it out for you to come pick it up, and you can tow it to the next town over, because apparently someone else was going to do it for cheaper. Right.
Yep.
And I said, that's fine. There's going to be an invoice before you pick it up for this disassembly. And this is what it is. And it went through 4 or 5 hands to the point where I was like, wow, is this actually, like, are they actually? And finally, yeah, we'll pay your rate. It's like, but how, to your point, how many people are going to go through that trouble? Right. And that's the daily grind of a body shop manager, owner, operator, is this constant grind. You get to the point where you're like, you know what, this car's disassembled. My team needs something to
Yep.
do. Let's just get it in the door. Yeah, let's just do it. And it's like, no, can't do that. Just can't do that.
Mm-hmm. And for a tidbit of a moment in this podcast, entertaining the question, I'm curious if this happens in the public insurance world, but it definitely does and has had happen for years in private insurance, is on the insured side making the call, and unfortunately at times scared to make the call, because if you do make a claim, it's going to make your rates go up. So how often have you guys had people struggling to know whether to go through insurance or out of pocket just out of fear of their rates increasing? Is that a thing?
Oh yeah, definitely.
All the time.
In all your provinces?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm assuming maybe perhaps that was this gentleman's situation. That's my assumption anyways, but we dealt with it constantly, helping the client decide whether to claim it or pay out of pocket, which ultimately, in most cases, claiming it means you don't have to pay right away out of pocket, but in some cases, at some point, it's going to come back and bite you, if you look at it that way. because your rates might go up, or you have a deductible, right? Some people are like, well, I've heard somebody say, well, I don't want to use this claim on my freebie in case I have another accident. I'm like, well, unless you're planning on having another accident, or not. But that's the real thing, right? So here we are,
People are worried about it.
owner of a vehicle trying to juggle the numbers of the math and the costs. What would you say to those people? What would your advice be? Or what would you say? What can you say? What can we share with our shop owners to help educate the customer instead of find themselves in a predicament of playing favorites?
I got a good one I got to share here, because to that exact right, bang on what you're asking. I don't know if this is the same in your provinces, but in Manitoba, you can buy back an accident. Can you guys do that in your
like a mulligan?
Yeah.
It's kind of an it's an obscure rule. Not a lot of people know this.
You used to be able to do that in BC. I cannot confirm that that's still an option, but it was like free financing for a year or something.
Basically,
like that.
and someone might correct me in the comments, but I'm pretty sure this is still at play for MPI. So here's the scenario: I plow into someone, I'm fully at fault. It's $5,000. And I decide, oh man, okay, well, I can't afford $5,000. I'm going to go through insurance. A year from now, I plow into someone again, and it's a $10,000 claim. And now, because this is my second accident, my rates are going to go through the roof. I can buy back the $5,000 accident from our public insurer, and it's like it never happened. And the kicker here is that they're getting it when the customer is buying it back. They're getting it at the insurance company's rate, right? Not my rate. So effectively,
wow.
You know what I mean? Isn't that wild?
That's wild.
Right?
Way to get a discount. Public.
It's a long way to get a discount, but so we have that conversations with customers sometimes, and every situation is different, right? So to your question, Lenny, I know customers of ours with fleets, it's a way different, there's different things to consider, because the impact is much more widespread for them. But for a customer, what I hear from customers all the time is, if it's over $1,000, I'm just going to put it through insurance. That's kind of, even though their deductible's $200, I don't know why that number floats around in people's heads, but if it's over $1,000, I'm just going to go through the insurance company.
And what can you fix for under $1,000? Right? Maybe a windshield.
Right. Yeah.
Maybe.
Okay, well, that's interesting to know that happens in all your provinces, where you can hold a record and tarnish your record, and therefore might affect how you approach that accident.
But get to know your insurance company's policies. Like, if you do end up in it, like, get yourself educated. If you do get into a jam, like, get to know them. You're paying insurance every year over year. You're paying licensing. You're paying for whatever coverages you have. At least when something happens, get to know what your options are.
Yeah.
Well, and you kind of get into the psychology of buying a contract like that, because like it's a contract and you're paying for it, but you need to pay for it. So therefore there's a bigger implied trust in what you're buying, but nobody reads it. Nobody understands the aftermarket parts, the replacement value. Nobody's checking boxes on whether when they removed their theft coverage, they also got rid of their fire coverage. Like, people are really confused about the product right now. And I would strongly suggest taking that policy and pumping it through AI and getting the finer points of your contract right up front. Because you got to know about that. There's clauses in there that you can use to your advantage if you disagree with your insurance company, and nobody really knows about that stuff. Nobody's really gone that way, because we have this implied trust. The old good hands are out there for us, eh?
Like, isn't that actually one of their logos?
I think so. I think you did it just
like
right.
Two hands like this.
I will confirm nor deny, but
so check this out.
Thanks.
The title, Know Your Numbers or Just Stay Mad, what you guys have effectively done is spun it even back onto the customer.
Wow. Hey, yeah,
Know
know
your
your
number,
numbers.
right?
Everybody.
Know your stuff. Know your rights, but what you're signing into, right?
Yeah.
That applies to a shop choosing to do work for somebody. That applies to a customer choosing whether to go through insurance or not. I mean,
Yeah.
let's be honest. I mean, just for those who are like, oh, what do I do with my insurance? I mean, obviously do some homework, but you can ask questions. Choosing an insurance company off the internet with no broker in between to talk to, that's another podcast, but it's risky, right? Having a broker who can actually walk you through what would happen if my car burns up, gets stolen, gets keyed, gets run into, all of those things,
Yeah.
you should be able to have those answers up front in an honest conversation. And it is possible,
Should
but
be.
you're probably also going to pay when you go through an insurance company that has a brokerage and everything else. So there is a get what you pay for as well, right? But then again, doing your homework and finding a shop that is indeed willing to sit with you. And this is what I think to the gentleman who did his post, and it must be frustrating because it sounds like he wasn't sure and he was given some information. But finding a shop that will actually spend time helping you understand your options. And to the shop owners, if you don't have something in place in the beginning when somebody walks through that door, and all you're doing is scribbling an estimate and giving them some number, you're not doing a customer service. That's the last thing they need.
No,
They don't
of
need
course
an
not.
estimate. They need help understanding what their options are, what to expect, why an estimate itself would be misleading because of hidden damages, blah, blah, blah. What customers need to know is what is the impact on my time, stress level, all these things that I need to take out of my day to deal with this, and what are you as a shop going to do to help me with my experience? That's what I believe people pay for. And the almighty dollar is important, but we're talking about value here, right? So
Yeah.
I'm looking at three gentlemen that run very effective shops that I know if I were to walk into, or better yet, somebody that I love that doesn't know what I know about getting in an accident, because I've had my share, that can walk into your shops and confidently be told what their options are. So it's a pretty cool thing, I think, to share with everybody that does own a business, i.e., a shop. Not just know your numbers, but know what your responsibility is, know what your options are to helping that customer. Um, and to anyone listening who doesn't own a shop or does, know what your rights are as a customer with insurance. Because Norm, you even talked about fleet or a business, right? Business has like a higher deductible. I mean, it's going to be like $2,500 to $5,000 to fix that thing. You're still going to want to find a shop you can talk to that helps you with your options, other
Well,
than duct
and
tape.
Joel had mentioned earlier the concept of implicit trust. And I mean, we have that with our dentist, right? I mean, it's just bar none. You have a dentist oftentimes for life,
Yeah.
and people, if they're living in the same community, they have a network of businesses that they support through their life and their families' lives. And our collision industry businesses are no different. So when I observe customers interacting with shops that I've worked with, that trust is there. They don't even ask questions. And regrettably, the shop oftentimes doesn't provide any forward insights for the client.
Mhm.
And that's where the problems begin post repair. Because I thought my deductible was waived. I didn't know I was responsible for GST. Whatever the story is, right? I mean, and it's so, well, from my perspective as an outside observer, it's so simple to provide the solution, even if the person doesn't ask. If they don't want to listen, that's a different story.
Mm-hmm.
But remember, Mrs. Jones, on January the 19th or whatever, we had the discussion about your betterment on the wheel or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And
Or the
now,
aftermarket parts that you wish
right,
you knew about, right? Like it's yeah, you're completely right, Mark.
Yeah. So, back to knowing numbers, knowing what your options are, whether you do or do not choose to work with certain, insurance companies, or whether, again, as a customer, you choose to work with a certain shop. Um, let's get back to it. The numbers that shop owners should know. Norm, you said fixed costs. What would be included in that, generally speaking, for a shop?
I look at that as any expense that's not directly related to the repair of the vehicle. So I look at that as my heat, my insurance on the building, anything that is only an expense and is not a there's no income stream attached to it, right? So it's on the bottom half of your sheet. So if I sell body labor, I also purchase body labor from my technician, right? So there's a cost and a sale associated. So the things that don't have a sale associated to it, those are the things that I consider an expense in my business.
Okay. Joe?
You can't disagree with the guy who knows his goddamn numbers, man.
Yeah,
But
true.
the thing I keep saying though is, and the reason I harp on this so much is because I didn't always know my numbers. And I think that's the thing that I really want to come out of this podcast is I don't ever want anybody listening to think like, listen, these guys up on their soapboxes, they know
high
everything.
horse,
And it's
yeah.
like, actually, we didn't always know everything. But you got to make a decision at one point in your business, right? And sometimes it takes listening to a podcast or it takes listening to a certain person, whether it's an outsider helping you in your business or a performance group or whatever, to just kind of nudge you in the right direction and say like, man, you know what, as a business owner, I should know this stuff, right? So I don't want people to think that we're here advocating that their rate should always be higher than the insurance company, no matter what. I don't care if your insurance
No,
company pays
that's
$200 an hour, you should charge $250. It's like, no,
no,
know your
that's not
numbers.
necessarily true. Yeah.
Right. And if you are telling me that the rate you're charging checks all the boxes and leaves you with enough profitability to Mark's point, put the key in the door every day and be able to reinvest in your business, then by all means, if you can defend it, absolutely. I'm all for it. But having a rate that you don't understand is going to be a problem. And I know that, I think I shared with you guys a recent survey here in Manitoba. 64% of shops surveyed have a lower or equal rate to our insurance company.
That's just
Now,
crazy.
could some of them be a very low overhead business that can, quantify that? Maybe not. A lot are some of them stuck in this cycle where they just started doing that and they don't know how to get out. I know for myself, when I started, for whatever reason, I actually charge less than the insurance company, right? No idea what my numbers are. Insurance company charges this. I charge less because I'm a nice guy, right? And Joe, everybody in my small community is going to come here and I'm going to give them a deal because I'm one of them. But then I had one experience totally change my mind. So I had a gentleman come in here and say, how much is it going to cost to repair this? Should I go through insurance? And I said, well, it's going to be about $1,000 to fix it. Just pick a round number. It's going to be $1,000. And he says, okay, sounds good. Keeping in mind, my rate was lower than the insurance company's rate. Okay. This was mainly a repair, no parts. He turns around and he says, okay, you know what? I'm going to put it through the insurance company. Here we go. So he makes a claim.
Yep.
The claim is now $1,500 and his deductible applies. The repair is done. You guys know where this is headed. It's time to pick up his car. I talked about the deductible before all this. He says, Norm, you just told me a month ago you were going to do that job for $1,000. Now the insurance company is paying you $1,500. I don't think I should have to pay my deductible. How do you defend that?
You can't. You've got nothing.
You got nothing.
You tell them that if they go customer pay, it's going to cost more money.
Right?
Well, Norm, we've experienced similar things. That's something that's not a foreign conversation early
No.
on in our years and going, oh, because then, Joe Public, whoever that may be, they're like, man, you're ripping off the insurance company. No wonder my rates are going up every year. And it's like,
Exactly.
oh, wait, like, yeah, this isn't serving us well. And I mean, we were maybe in more survival stage then,
Mhm.
but we had a visit from a manager at our local claim center back in the day. And the only good advice he ever gave me was, if I catch you charging less than we pay you, I'm going to go after reducing your rates.
Right.
And I was like, that actually just makes a lot of sense. He's like, we, as the insurance company, expect the best price. So if you're willing to give it to a dealer or you're willing to give it to somebody else, like, you better be willing to give it to us.
Yeah.
And that was, it's like 20 years ago. So, or more.
Yeah. And I don't know about you, but my decision to set the rate lower wasn't based on anything other than the insurance company
Totally.
pays this, so I'm going to charge that. There was
Yeah.
was
It's the nice
nothing,
guy rate. Yeah,
just
well,
the
we know.
nice guy rate.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't based
Um,
on anything.
So sorry again, just so we're clear though, and I want to keep this going on the fixed cost conversation, just to help people understand where to start. Norm, you shared your take. Joel or Todd, is there anything else that you guys would say is important as a fixed cost to you?
I mean, yeah, like Norm's really technically he's right. It's the below line cost, but depending on your pay rate scenario in your shop, if you're on straight time, for the people that don't understand what this is, it's just your people get paid for showing up. That you could be looking at them as more of a fixed cost, and then productive hours are above the line. So it's kind of like you need to just know for us and the majority of our organization, our labor costs are tied as flat rate directly to hours. So it's more of a cost of goods sold.
Mhm.
So, because there's going to be all sorts of pay rates around there, and I mean, if your ratio of straight time technical hours is way out of line to your production, if you're not even close to say 1 to 1, your fixed costs could be all out of line.
Yeah,
And then,
I'm just gonna add to that. I mean, we're straight time, and I mean it's a dollar amount, right? This is what my labor costs, regardless of what I'm paying, and this is what I'm
Ex-
taking in this labor, right? So
Yeah.
it's just understanding that, and then also understanding what is a gross profit margin that you're targeting for labor, right? And for
Mhm.
parts and for everything else. So sorry, Joel, cut you off there. Just
yeah, I guess the only thing that I would add into our fixed costs would be our basically uncosted labor, our admin staff that really
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
we don't get paid for that, and well, I'm a cost as well too. Um, I'm doing stuff every day, but I'm not bringing in income on a spreadsheet like that on your. So yeah, all your overhead would be all the people that are important to answering the phones and making sure that all the documents are done. Because yeah, we don't get paid for that. I think we're one of very few industries left out there that have not implemented a estimating fee into our job.
Hmm.
There's very few industries out there that have no unaccounted for admin and
No sort of
estimating.
management fee. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, and one of the, the KPIs that has increased steadily since 2020 at a, more than incremental rate is the percentage of your um, total sales as admin cost. From 10 or 11% in 2016, 17 to 15, 16, 17% today.
yeah,
I mean, and that in itself is, you know, the only, the biggest impact, of course, is to your net profitability. So how do you offset that? How do you get that back? I mean, like Joel said, I mean, you're not compensated for an estimator's time, um, the CSR's time. I mean, that's all just cost of doing business, right?
So and we can hang out there for a little bit, just again, I'm sure, and I hope if there is somebody listening who's like, okay, man, they got my attention, but where do I start? Back to understanding what your fixed costs are. Again, reaching out to fellow people, including those on this podcast, and asking, can you help me understand? The other one that came up even before gross profit is net profit, right? What would be a simple way for a shop owner who's struggling to understand their numbers on how to decide or generate what a net profit for them needs to be? Actually is. It's a number that exists. Every business has it. How do you determine what your net profit is or should be?
Well, those are two different things, but if you want to be hypothetical, you can work from the bottom up on a P&L, and I mean your fixed costs are all in there and go to last month, and whether it's, the costs of taxes, costs of all the hidden costs that we pay, training and all these other things, right? So you can work your way back up and end up with a labor rate. There's a lot of different ways to do it. I mean, if you don't have an accounting, I don't know how you're in business if you don't have a shop management system that does job costing for you, or I don't know how you're surviving, but
Well,
I
in all due
appreciate
respect,
that.
they're out there, Todd. Are they
I
utilizing
know.
it, though, right? They are
Yeah.
out there. I guess where I'm going is when we get to work with shops and just understanding how to get them from, this level to the next level. It is quite common for a shop not to know what their actual break even is. And what is
Mm,
break even? It's not $1 more made than nothing. It's additional dollars on top. Your actual break even needs to contribute to things like future growth, invest for maintenance of equipment, the rainy day fund, those types of things.
Mhm.
But then we say, where are you currently at? It's often below. And if Mark gave a promising note of
right.
5%, it's not often that. It's actually, as a rule, it might look good
This is what,
ebbs and
3?
flows. They're losing money, right? So if you're
Mm,
at below your break even, and then we talk about where you should be, which I think is your healthy net profit. Like if you're not making a profit in business, make some changes or get out of business, because otherwise you're just tying up resources that could work somewhere else, right? That's a
yeah.
Panasonic-ism. So I'm just curious then, let's stick with it. What would you do to determine a healthy net profit, a healthy break even, so that then we can start to focus on some cool things to generate more gross profit? Any thoughts?
There's the unicorn's gonna pop up here again. Maybe
I'm just waiting.
like,
Here it is.
yeah, because this is kind of a hard one, man. Like I don't know if I've had that clear dream of what an acceptable net profit is. I just accept it every goddamn month. Uh, like
Well, yeah, let's be honest. If it's under 10, like, if you go, I think what is it over the last 10 years, the index is 14. So really, like, if you're running like a highly complex business and not doing what the S&P does, like, you probably need to check yourself. But like even just starting at 10 and saying 10 is the I cannot invest in my company at all if I'm below 10%. Like we're not sunk, but we're on fire. Work your way
Mm-hmm.
back through it, and then for us the most tangible way has been keeping track of our score. And you need to be able to work back on your P&L and establish a score that actually is tangible that you can share with your team based on labor sales, based on hours sold, likely because parts fluctuate in and out. You need to go, hey, we need to produce 50 hours a day, 45 hours a day, 150 hours, whatever it is. Like, figure out what it is. It's like, here's our break even. The ship goes down if we don't meet this over a long term, and this is where we should be, and this is where we dream about, and should be probably if you were to cash out and invest in an income fund of some sort, like, you should be at least there. Like, that's crazy, right? Doesn't make any sense to keep going otherwise. So can we do it on the rates we're getting paid? That's a whole nother question.
Good, I'll hang on to that.
But
Great question.
Well, and so one of the KPIs that the dealership world uses, and some collision operators and other businesses, return on invested capital,
yeah,
right? I mean
yeah,
that's
100.
really the line in the sand. What do I truly need as a return on everything that I've put into this business? The $250,000 car liner, the $400,000 booth,
Yep.
the
$2 million
$3,000 a
building,
day of
whatever it
labor
is.
that I
Yep.
spend, whatever
All
it is,
that.
right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
all that.
All of that.
Good point.
And at
And
some point,
I heard something the other day, Mark, that investment dollars are cowards. Investment income goes to the easiest possible solution. So our solution is not easy.
no,
So it should it should pay a higher dividend because the risks are significantly higher than putting it in a GIC.
You know, you look at you look at what you do every day, the complexity of that, the complexity of the car, the complexity of labor relations, the complexity of the apprenticeship program. I mean, it today is, you know, when I had my shop years ago, it was simple. You could do a $5,000 repair on a F-150 in a couple of days and it'd be out the door, right?
Yep.
Today it's a $5,000 headlamp.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it
And
doesn't
it's
work.
it doesn't work unless
And it
you
needs to be
send it,
programmed.
right? Like, yeah, exactly. Oh man.
I'll bring another cool little perspective on knowing your numbers, and then realizing if you are an owner who is, you know, just so busy every day and we're not making money, and I do or don't know my numbers, assuming everyone could do better at knowing numbers to a point. How many how many shops do you think that have people that work for them that also don't know the numbers? It's back to your point, Todd, and I know all three of you do this, understanding what we need to put through every day in order to make a profit. How many businesses out there do you think exist where the employees have no idea what's required to make a profit? And then worse yet, how many employees
Hey, last
aren't?
year this time our employees did not know.
Okay,
Mhm.
cool.
Yeah.
Thanks for
It's a fun exercise. If anybody's bored and got a whole pile of spare time out there, we called
Well,
our
maybe over Christmas.
yeah. So we had a team meeting, and this is going back years, but it was on this financial literacy piece, and we brought everybody in the room, and this was part of a much larger exercise. But we asked them, what do you think is an acceptable, or no, what do you think a shop like this nets? And it was interesting to hear the answers.
Mhm.
Not one of them. Well, I'll never forget one gentleman who doesn't work here anymore, who knew everything. So I'm sure he's doing much better than me right now. He said, if a shop's not making 30% net, they shouldn't even bother showing up every day.
That's the
And
perception from inside the
from
business. That's what they
inside,
think.
right? So think
Yep.
about that, what that looks like on a culture, you know, from a culture standpoint, where your own people, your own team thinks that there's just this huge, you know, flow of cash coming in the building all the time, right? And I think it really puts things into perspective as our responsibility as the shop owner to make sure that our entire team is financially literate, because these are the people that we're counting on to produce. And if they think that you're, you know, running away to the bank like a bandit every month,
Man.
do you think they're gonna put their best foot forward for you? Probably not.
But let's be honest. It can be a little intimidating on exactly what to share or how to share it
Yeah.
with your people. That's not a normal practice, I think, for a lot of
No.
businesses. One of the best things back to working in the concourse days with Ken and Fiona, the coolest thing she ever did was she came in as the finance officer and laid out what a dollar lives like in the body shop. Exactly where does it all go?
I love that. That's
typical
so
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
because you can
Yeah.
break it into 100%, $100, whatever. It was the beginning, and what I learned, who we now have since done lots of work with shops that are doing well or ones that are struggling. It was the ones that are struggling that not only were they realizing that people knew nothing about where the dollars went or how to contribute to it, they also didn't know that the company was about to go under. And if you did the math, it wasn't years from now; it was months.
Months. Yeah.
And it wasn't used as a fear factor. It was to sit down with the people and say, look, the stress and strain as an owner, management, leadership, and even amongst the employees who also pick up on this. We want to talk with you a little bit about the fact that at the end of the day, whatever we're doing is not working. We're all so busy, but busy doesn't put dollars in the bank, right? We have to take a moment and pay attention to everything we're doing, including, and I love this, asking your people, what obstacles or issues are you seeing that are getting in the way of us being more effective? Because those habits and practices that we think have always worked, or the lack of them, putting our people through that every day, not asking them, would you do anything different if it meant us being more effective? And then absolutely sharing with them an ability, the score that came up in our last podcast with Joe McPhail, where he's like, you got to know the score. Everyone wants to know what they're putting up on that board, right? And whatever it might be, find a metric. Like, you don't need to share the balance sheet, but you need to help your people know what they're doing each day to contribute to the end game. As Todd, you alluded to, right? A year ago, it's been a game changer
Hey,
for you guys, right? Absolute
game
game,
changer.
Mhm.
right? And so that properly protected
Game changer.
headlight that we otherwise would have dropped on the floor, or that trim panel that's just handled with care, or the belt molding that we broke, pulling too hard instead of asking for help, or worse yet, not actually getting proper repair plans, as we know, into the system. Those are all things that your people can directly affect. Are you spending time helping them see that? So,
Well, I think Joel mentioned it earlier, transparency. I mean, transparency with the customer, transparency with our team. I mean, they maybe don't need to know the dollars of net profitability, but percentages. I mean, most people understand I got 4% on my GIC in 2019 and I got 2.2% on it last year. They understand
Yeah.
that kind of math, right?
yeah.
Yeah, it's like one of our, talking about knowing your numbers, and one of our counter, one of our industry buddies here, I won't mention any names, but they have like a breakage calculator, and this is the other thing that people aren't realizing these days is that, like, it's pretty easy to damage a $6,000 door panel or a $4,000 headlight. Like, that's just common. Like, the average Ford truck has a $3,000 headlight or $3,500. And you don't realize the consequences for the shops, the amount of dollars that they're eating. But he has a breakage thermometer that they run through every day, or like, what do they call it? It's a waste thermometer. And it's like, oh, we missed a part on that repair plan, and that cost us 2 days of courtesy car, so we're going to add that, and but his goal is not to make anybody feel bad. His goal is to get them thinking differently, and he's like, I'd rather just give you guys the money. Like, let's just watch it, let's just take care of it, and I can give it to you, because I'm just giving it to waste.
Yep.
So super cool stuff, right? But you need to have data to do something like that.
And if I'm mistaken, and I can't give the exact figures, I know who you're speaking about, Todd. It's let's say around a $30,000 proven breakage and loss last year. About 13,000 of that now is going to go back to the staff at the end of the year.
Man, and you know what? Next year it'll be 5. Like, they're just because they're paying attention, and they're like, wow, this is crazy. These mistakes are costly.
Now, it also, keep this in mind, came from a culture that understood honesty. So gluing that trim
Yes.
panel back together and
Yes.
not affecting the record,
Oh, yeah.
not a good idea, right? So,
Of course. Yes, of course.
Yeah, good
so,
point.
the reason why I love this conversation, guys, is because, again, it doesn't have to be complicated. It could be a little scary or nerve-wracking. First,
Yeah.
knowing your numbers. 2, starting to share that information, because you may or may not actually like what comes of it, meaning you might see the reality that you're not as profitable as you should be. But then again, when you monitor, you improve, and the more you can get your people to see that they too can contribute, it's a proven result. When you know your numbers, instead of going into work each day and feeling like we're not getting anywhere, and then getting mad about it, getting mad at your people. Obviously, sometimes even your customers see you're mad. There's proven results from knowing your numbers and starting to get some help internally, or reaching out for help, as you said, Norm. It will start to turn things around. It works, right? So,
Yeah.
if there was one more thing that I guess we could leave off on this podcast, maybe instead of just some typical New Year's resolution, what's one thing you guys are either doing, or that you could share that you've been doing that you'd like to others have here? Is what's one thing you could do to really start to turn it around, right? Like knowing your numbers. What's one thing you can monitor in your business that you have or you're going to help into the new year?
Slow down to go faster.
There we go.
Come on, Todd. Come on, Norm. on, Mark.
I feel like, man, this circles back quite a ways, but I just feel like it's all about getting your people involved. We have such, let's go back to it. Like, we have such great teams. Start having more meaningful conversations, start problem solving, you start engaging your team, keeping score together. Like that you want to like have a different conversation in 2027. Like, that's how you start.
Yeah.
It's not top down command and control. Like, this is just, if that's what you're doing, you're just gonna fight the same fight. Like, get your team involved.
Nice.
Yeah, and then on the financial literacy part, if that's something, you've got the team like Todd said, and you want to get on the financial literacy part, and it's just a matter of where do I start. I remember the first thing I did was fix my chart of accounts. So like
Yeah.
if we're going to get right in the weeds, that was a big problem for me. My accountant, very good accountant, but just not didn't build a chart of accounts that was set up for a collision repair shop. And when you don't have that dialed in, you can't, like, for those on the audio podcast, I'm holding up a card that's full of numbers, right? There's all these metrics in our business that these are kind of set standard. For example, 60% gross profit on labor, that should be kind of your target. You can't measure yourself on those if your numbers aren't in a proper chart of accounts, right? If you're not accounting labor in the right space as an expense rather than a cost of goods sold, then you're not going to be able to do the exercise. So, I mean, I still have mine saved. There's an example. If you're using QuickBooks, I have an example chart of accounts, and it tells you how to lay it out. I
It's a
remember
great
giving
idea.
it to my accountant, and we sat down together and, okay, this is here right now. I want this over there. And my accountant knew exactly what I was talking about. And she just said, okay, well, I didn't realize this is how you measured things in your industry. We could totally do that. Was it painstaking at first? Of course it was. But that was the start. That was like ground zero, and everything else came after that. Now I could see, oh, okay, so that was a shop material. It wasn't a shop supply, right? All these different things that were getting classified in the wrong places. My numbers, once I started measuring, they started to make sense. They started to fit into some of these buckets that we were comparing in a performance group. And then, and only then, I was able to start dialing them. Then the next step is learning what affects those numbers. But we'll save that for a later date. I would just say, if you want to, for 2026, this is the year you're going to make a difference. You're going to understand your numbers. Let's get your chart of accounts dialed in, and let's go from there.
Yeah.
Nice
Mark,
one.
Foundation is
anything?
critical, right? And I think about it in my ISO days, measure to prove it and then improve it. I mean, whatever that is, if it, like Lenny said, good, bad, or ugly, this is the line in the sand. Our net profitability sucks. We want it to be better. Well, now we know what it is.
Exactly.
We can work towards improving it, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. And I will
Yeah,
throw my
those are great.
shameless plug in is get some help.
Get some help.
Reach out. Asking for help is not a weakness. It's actually a sign of strength. Obviously, listening to podcasts such as this and others, there's a lot of free information out there. Some of it good, some of it not. Build yourself a community. There's lots of people you can reach out to just to talk to. Sometimes voicing it is enough to get clarity around what you're actually saying. Obviously, we have people on this podcast that you can reach out to, and that includes myself and Mark at Kaizen Hub. We're super stoked to head into the new year with even just newer, simpler ways that we can help not just this industry, but many, many different industries get back to the basics of what you need in a business to operate and enjoy it. Go figure, because that would be cool too, to actually find joy in owning a business. It is possible. So just want to say thanks to, again, you three, and of course, Mark, for joining. A special thanks to Norm, Joel, and Todd just for making this year, 2025, a podcast success. It's been a big learning curve for us on what it takes to actually get a podcast off the ground and to
Pretty
keep
fun.
the momentum going. I love that we go off script as much as possible, because that's what makes it real. And of course, I would just put it out there for anyone listening. If there's anything that you would love us to bring up, talk about, cover, and above all, if there's anything you could challenge us on that we're sharing, we're open to all of it. So from all of us at Beyond Repair, Crashing the Conversation, just a Merry Christmas and a big Happy New Year heading into 2026. We'll sign off there.
See you next year.
You bet.
See you
It's a
next
pleasure
year.
meeting everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, kids. All the best.
Thanks, guys. Appreciated it.